In this video, we will review the book check-in and check-out systems, how to record the total number of books checked out each week, and how to make your library inviting for both students and teachers at your school. Is the book checkout and check-in system working? Hands Across the Sea recommends that librarians use either the notebook system or the card system because they are easy to use and easy to train students in using to assist you in making the process go more smoothly. We will review both systems in this video so that you and your library team can determine what way is best for you and your school. There may also be other ways to check in and check out books that will work well for your school too. Our goal is to provide you with options and to follow up with your school that the system you have chosen is working consistently. The notebook system is a great way to record the book lending at your school and requires very little setup. Devote one notebook for the school year to record for the whole school, or a notebook or blue book for each grade level if your school's population is on the larger side. We have also seen composition books divided into 5, 6, or 7 sections for each grade level, starting with whatever grade level checks out books. So a section for grade 2, then grade 3, grade 4, and so on, for as many grades as check out books. Inside the notebook, create simple columns to create a system for recording book checkout with the date the book is checked out, the student's first and last name of who is checking the book out, the title of the book, the grade level of the student checking the book out if needed, and the final column is for the date the book is returned. Most schools require students to return a book in order to check out another one, and Hands Across the Sea agrees that this is a best practice and accountability measure for students to keep up with the book that they are reading and ensure that they do not lose it. The notebook system allows check-in and check-out to be happening at your school right away because it requires very little setup before lending. Students or student librarians themselves can learn how to use this method and write in the notebook to help you not feel overwhelmed, especially when large classes visit the library during library time. Another effective way for book check-in and check-out is the card system. You will devote one large index card for each student at the school and keep the cards in a file box divided by grade level or class. On each card, students will write their name, the date the book was checked out, the title of the book, and the date it was returned. Even though it does require some setup on your part to designate one card for each student at the school, the students themselves like this method because it chronicles all the books that they have read and checked out during the course of a school year. This is amazing, and they take pride in it. It also helps with large classes because students can take their card, fill it out, and then bring it back to you to file so that you don't have to physically write it all down in one place for every single child checking out a book. It allows all the students to record their book checkout at the same time and not have to wait in one long line while you record it in the notebook. If your school decides to do this method, you will need to write the names of the students at your school on one large index card in preparation for checkout. For grades 2 through 6, students can help you with this as you train them what to do on the very first visit to the school library at the beginning of the school year, so that it is less work for you to do all by yourself. They are completely capable if trained properly and reinforced over and over again each week until they know the drill and the system by heart. Over the years, Hands Across the Sea has encouraged the card system method, and we will send your school library a file box and a set of 100 index cards to get you started. However, don't wait for us. Get your lending program up and running now with the notebook system until you can transition it over to the card system once the supplies have arrived. This shows us that your school library will actually use the materials we are sending you. Another important measure that all school libraries should have in place is the lending library borrowing record. This chart enables Hands Across the Sea and your school to capture the life of the library. By recording how many books are being checked out each week, we can see how your school's library is doing with real numbers. We can observe trends and also measure progress over time. If your school is small, you may want to devote one lending library borrowing record for the whole school and tally the totals for all the students checking out books on this one sheet. However, if your school is larger, one chart can be used for each class or each grade. Write the school name, the name of the teacher's class who came to the library, and the grade. You may even want to write how many total students are in that teacher's class to gain perspective. The chart is divided by the 13 weeks in each of the 3 terms throughout the school year. Let's say that your school starts its lending program in term 1 during week 3. It would be great if you started on week 1, but sometimes schools need a few weeks to get things set up and prepared before the students start coming to the library for checkout. Put a tally mark for each student who checked out a book that week from that grade. Let's say that 9 students checked out books the first week because not all of their parents had turned in their permission slip yet. Hands Across the Sea provides a sample letter on page 20 of the library manual that you and your principal can send to encourage parents to grant their children permission to borrow library books. Let's say the following week all the permission slips are turned in and the 9 who had checked out a book the week before remember to bring their books back. So all 12 now can check out books. So that would be 12 tally marks for that line. The key is consistency and keeping up with it from week to week for each class. What we have found is that when we involve the students and give certain ones the responsibility to record their class's totals on this chart, they find a sense of pride in their work and love being able to help you as a librarian in this way. Again, the key is consistency. When Literacy Links come to visit your school each term, they will ask if all the classes are recording the number of books borrowed weekly on the chart, and you will want to say yes and show them the numbers when they come. Here you can see the student librarians going through their grades cards to record the total number of books borrowed that week on the chart. This school library has stapled all the class borrowing record charts together to keep them organized. You may want to do this too. The book borrowing record chart is a great way for our literacy links to see how active your school library is, and it is also beneficial to see which classes check out the most books per week consistently. This information can be very helpful to share with your principal, as they may want to have a school-wide competition to see which books and which grades are being checked out the most. This could be done during Literacy Month or during a specific term. Keep in mind, when the library is open during break and lunch times, you may have to tally those students to be able to add their numbers to the borrowing record chart. So for instance, let's say that 3 of the 12 students come to the library during lunch 3 days later to return their books because they've read them all the way through. These students want to check out a new book before their library day scheduled for the next week. That's okay. Let them and add 3 more tally marks to their class's totals for this week. You may want to record these totals in pencil, just in case you need to erase something and keep things organized and neat. Once you have the library check-in and check-out systems rolling, you can focus your attention on making your library inviting. You will want to encourage both teachers and students to visit the library, and so having places for children and teachers to sit and read is important. The floor works great for students, but often a floor mat or rug makes a reading corner even more enjoyable for them. How about adding some cushions too? When students know where they can read, your job becomes that much easier because you no longer have to tell them every week where to go and sit and enjoy their books. Another big question is, how can you keep your library tidy and organized? What about unpacking new books and taking inventory? If it is all on you, reaching out to the students for assistance is needed. Consider the most responsible students. Would they mind coming into the library once or twice a week during break time or lunchtime to help you reshelve returned books and library materials, tidy the books on the shelves, and keep the library clean, sweeping the floor, wiping down shelves and book covers? Your library team of teachers is a great place to start, but we've often seen how inviting the interested students enables them to take ownership of the care of the library and make it fun. Hands Across the Sea actually encourages schools to have a student librarian training program that empowers the students to run the library in many ways and transitions librarian tasks to the students themselves so that you and the library team have the help you need to keep the library running every single day of the year, whether or not you are absent from school that day. Hands Across the Sea recommends that the books face outward so that the students can better see the pictures on the front covers to help in their book selections. This is just a recommendation, but it definitely makes the books appealing and are super fun to look at. Consider swapping out which ones are most visible from time to time so that students can get to know all of the books in the library collection and can see which ones may be hiding on the sides or underneath. As the year goes on, think about which books you may like to display in different ways throughout the library. Ask your students to help you identify which books to select to showcase or recommend that may not be as popular but are fantastic reads. You may want to display them by standing them up on the tops of the shelves if they are hardcover books, like this librarian did in St. Kitts. If you don't have this type of shelving, set up a table, desk, or book stand at the entrance of the library or the checkout desk to catch the attention of students and teachers who may not have noticed those particular titles in the collection. When students can see the books in this way, they are much more likely to pick them up, leaf through the pages, and consider whether this would be a good book for them to read all the way through. We organize books into 3 categories depending on grade level, and we have devoted an entire video about how to do that. As you can see, librarians can get quite creative with the way that they display their books and set up the bookshelves. I always like to ask the students what they would like to see and involve them in making the library a vibrant place to find books. Book displays are important because they showcase books that students may not know exist. They showcase books that teachers may not know about but would love to teach with, and they showcase books around a theme or subject matter. I encourage you to ask teachers what they are teaching or planning to teach in the near future, especially in science and social studies, because there are a lot of books in your library that would correlate really well with these topics, and your teachers may have no clue that these perfect resources exist for them. Be the connector. Connect them with the books that are in your library. When you do this, you are doing your school and your teaching staff a great service. A successful library is one that has books and resources being checked out by both students and teachers on a weekly basis. Sharing book recommendations with both the students and the staff will enable your library to be successful. Library themes are also fun, creative ways to get the students and teachers excited about coming to the library. Themes like reading is fantastic or fish for a good book are ways that you can decorate the library each year or term to catch the attention of those who don't come to the library as often or to get the ones that do super excited. Celebrate your school or country's heritage and Independence Day celebrations with the library. You can also display your library's theme through bulletin board displays, window displays, or door displays. The sky is the limit, but when librarians show their creativity, great things happen in the library. Talking about books with students and teachers is the way that they know that these books exist too. When you are sorting through books in the library and come across the Sleeping Beauty Princess book that you know several students in grade 2 would love, tell them about the book. Show them where it is, get them excited about it because I guarantee they are going to be thrilled when it is their turn to bring it home and read it for themselves. Another way to motivate students in selecting books is for you to read some of the books from the library yourself that look appealing to you in your free time. You will never be able to recommend books to others if you don't know what books are in your library and have not read them yourself. Now, don't get overwhelmed or feel like you have to read them all. Start small, make it manageable. Bring home a book each night for a few months and read it to your own children at home before bed. Not only are you getting a chance to read those picture books yourself, but you are also sharing those books with the ones that you love the most. Take a chapter book that interests you off the shelf and bring it with you on the bus to read a chapter or two during your commute each way to and from school. You as the librarian can and should be checking out books too. Tell the students who come to the library what you are reading and what you have just read that you liked or enjoyed. They will be so curious, interested, and eager to know what you thought of it. Talk to them, share the good things you liked and the reality of what you didn't like. It is okay not to like books sometimes, and children want to know that. Students love talking with me about the books that I have read because they like to know my opinions. I love having these conversations with them because I know that it is generating interest about books they might not naturally pick up or choose for themselves. And I am always wanting to expand their reading selections. Getting students excited about books is definitely a huge part of your job as librarian. Whether you are doing it as a volunteer or a paid position, whether you are a student librarian or a Peace Corps volunteer, your passion is contagious. Discuss with individual students or in small groups what they like to read and direct them to books that may interest them most. Give older students a reading inventory to learn more about what kinds of books they may like to read and use that inventory to help guide them in selecting books about topics that most interest them. Reach out to your literacy link through an email or phone call to ask them for a copy of a reading inventory or Google search for one to download off the internet. There are many out there that are outstanding and get you and your students thinking outside the box about books that may interest or intrigue them.